And I'm going to press open Zoom. It opens up. So Zoom has some really nice features. You can either go up here to where it says meeting and look at some of these, like mute all, unmute all. Obviously, there are different views that a lot of you are familiar with. Like it also has it here too. So gallery view. Right now, I only have one other person in this meeting, and that is my daughter's one of her baby dolls. So don't worry, she hasn't used them in several years. But so obviously, I can see this is me. I'm the speaker. So a lot of times it'll have this participants. If you clicked on participants over here, it brings up your participants window where you can see them. So if you wanted to see if their microphone's off, like I can see that this microphone is off. It's on mute. Their camera is on though. That's why I can see them. So kind of a neat little thing here. Now I like to pop this out. So that way, if I go to share my screen later, I could still see this window. So right here, I do what's called a pop out. And yours might already be popped up by default, but just in case, that's a nice little tip to be able to use. So another thing that you could have is the chat window, and the chat window oftentimes will be same thing. It'll be kind of linked to the meeting window. So if you want to pop that out too, or if we go back into chat, again, pop out. And just kind of keep it separate. That'll be helpful because sometimes when you're especially presenting, you might not see people's questions over here. So over in this security, you do have, you can make it so participants can or cannot chat. If I do that, they cannot chat to each other. But if I do that, they can. If they want them to be able to rename themselves to like their nickname or something, they could. Now over here, you'll see I can invite people on the fly. Even though this is a meeting that was set up, I could still press invite and get that and do that. Again, I have this nice feature called mute all. So as soon as I do that, it just mutes everyone. That's very helpful in case anyone gets on a phone or something while you're in a conversation. Unmute all means bring them all back. Where it says more down here, there's a couple nice things on this. One thing is you might want to mute the participants when they enter, and that way, if they come in and are kind of loud, they don't disrupt the flow, especially if they come in late. You can make this play and enter and exit chime for you, so that way you can see when someone comes and goes. But again, depending on the amount of participants, but if you're just sitting here having office hours and no one's there, so when they come into the meeting, instead of you just sitting here looking at this window all the time, it'll play a nice little chime to let you know that someone's there. Okay. And enable waiting room, I would not necessarily use that. So the real power of Zoom probably is sharing your screen. Besides talking to each other, I mean, that's really powerful, having a meeting. But share screen is probably one of the most important features. So in Zoom, when I go to share my screen, you'll notice I have several windows open. Now this is the desktop. If you're just going to share your desktop, nothing wrong with that. A lot of people use that, except you have to be very careful. If you have your gradebook open on a window or some personal email or anything, that might be problematic. So down here, you'll notice that one of the windows I have open is a gradebook. Another one is, or not. One of the windows I have is my email. Another one I have is a slideshow that I've prepared. So if I have these different things that I want to show on here, maybe a picture of something or this, that works pretty well. And what I mean by windows, like if I go back to this one, you'll see that this has several windows connected here. So it has like technology, teachers, Twitter, but it has this plants and animal cells. So to make them separate windows, you have to pop these out. So what that basically means is like separate those so they're on separate windows. Some people, will start a new window, but it's good to have this stuff set up before you go in here. So if I go back to Zoom and I go share screen, now notice I have more windows open now. So I had that Twitter chat kind of on a separate window. So this works out really well when you want to teach. So if you have something prepared, like, hey, I have this slideshow, I go into this slideshow and I show them. So my participants would now see this slideshow. So I could go here. And what's kind of nice about this is when I go ahead and like if I wanted to present a slideshow, it has annotations right up at the top. So if I wanted to just go through here and say, okay, I'm going to annotate, and it brings up this little nice thing. So you could highlight things, you can move things with your mouse, you could draw things like, hey, plant cells have a cell wall. That's one of the things that make them different than animal cells. And you could go through and talk about chloroplasts or another thing that, so I'm going through, I'm annotating. Which is kind of nice. It also has this remote control feature where you could give your mouse and keyboard, and I'll be very careful with this, but you could give this to a student. You could say, okay, guest number 2 or whoever this is, I'm going to give my control to you now. Can you do me a favor and show me one other things that's different? And they can take their mouse and circle something on there. So that's a little bit more interactive. That's what's kind of nice that Zoom has. If you go over here to more, you could record what you're doing right now to the computer. So if you wanted to save something like this maybe this lesson for other students that can't make it to the meeting, like it's kind of a nice feature if you're just recording your screen or something. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share. Now, I'm sure a lot of you noticed when I pressed share screen, there was this thing called whiteboard. Yes, Zoom has a built-in whiteboard feature, so it's probably one of the most helpful things. So if I go to share and I just wanted to go ahead and, start teaching as I was in my classroom, like let's say we are drawing. Okay, I'm going to draw a plant cell, and over here I'm going to draw an animal cell. Same thing, it does still have the remote control feature, so if you wanted people to start interactive lessons with you, you could easily do that. Same thing. Before I go any further though, it does have this nice thing called save, so you could save this picture that you drew when you were done, kind of like a lot of smart boards do nowadays. So if you want to save it, it just will save it in your folder for you. You could obviously show that. If you want to clear the whole screen, there's some really nice features in here. So another nice feature in Zoom, when you're on your sharing, if you clicked on the share screen, it does allow you to share files with your participants. Now you could go to the chat board and copy and paste links over here, but also if you just had something in your Google Drive, hey, I want you to look at this file real quick, you could share that, and right away it's going to filter out to your audience. So a lot of people want to know how to change this background. Like right now I don't have a virtual background on, I just have my wall in a background, which doesn't look real pretty. You could easily go over here to where it says choose a virtual background, and you could set up there. Obviously you probably, if you've been in any Zooms, you've seen some people do backgrounds like this before already, but you could put your own in here. So if you wanted like a fancy office hour, find a picture of an office hour or Google Classroom, and you could decide what that looks like. Now, obviously, if you have something like this and it's when you first go into it, it might be background, so you have to click on that to mirror your video so it looks nice and it's not a mirror. Okay, so that's basically an overview of Zoom. At the very bottom here, when you want to leave a chat, you would want to just press End Meeting. So you are in control, you are the host. The one thing I did not say is you can actually make another participant in Zoom a host. So if you said over here more, I can make that person a host and they can start sharing their screen, or if they have something on their screen you want to help troubleshoot, say, hey, I want to take a look at your screen. Go ahead and press make host. They'll be the host. You can always regain control. I am going to go ahead and press End Meeting. And what's nice about Zoom is when you do that, it ends it for everyone. No one can stay there and hang out behind you.